Luke 21:25-36. Today we'll be looking at the next two verses, verses 27 and 28. Again, I'll read through the verse and then I will translate it a bit at a time. And then at the end, I will show you my English translation of these two verses. Kai tote absontai ton huion tu anthropou erkomenon en nephale meta dunameos kai doxes poles. All right, so as usual, the first thing I like to do when I'm translating something from Greek into English is look for the verbs. In this first verse here, I can see one verb and one participle. So the verb here is opsontai, which is the future indicative middle form of hora'ar, which means I see, and it has that third person plural ending. So as a future, this would be translated as they will see. Now, I'm pretty sure that the future form here is always in the middle voice. So I'm not really sure whether we should consider it reflexive or not, but the idea of seeing something affects you in some way. So you can get that subject affectedness sense of the middle voice, regardless of whether we translate it as they will see for themselves or not. Okay. I'll have a look at that participle as we get to it. So let's go ahead and just start at the beginning now and work our way through. All right, kai tote, and then they will see. And we have a direct object here, ton huion tu anthropou, which we usually capitalize as the Son of Man, right? So again, there's a bit of an apocalyptic sense about this passage. And then they will see the Son of Man, erkomenon. So erkomenon is a participle. It's a middle deponent, and it's present tense. And as you can see by the ending there, it's a masculine accusative singular form of erkomai, which simply means coming. So when we come across a participle, if it's present tense, I usually just add the ing. And if it's an aorist, I will usually use the word having as a keyword, or I might use the word after. And they will see the Son of Man coming. And then here, there's a bit of debate as to whether we should see this preposition en as in or on. I'm going to just go ahead and put in. And then nephile, a cloud. You can see it has that dative ending there because the object of a preposition of the preposition en takes the dative. And then we have another prepositional phrase straight after, meta. And we have meta dunameos kai doxes poles. Now, dunameos and doxes are genitive, which means that meta means with here. Okay, so with dunamis, power, and glory. And then what sort of glory? We have the adjectival use of the word poles, so much or many. Here, we'd probably want it to be better English, so we'll go with great and great glory. Okay? And then our next verse, arkomenon de tuton genestai anakupsate kai eparate tas kaphalas humon, diade engize he apolutrosis humon. All right. Where do we see verbs here? I can see 3 verbs and then, 3 verbs and then a participle and an infinitive. So an infinitive is a verbal noun, whereas a participle is a verbal adjective. So they share traits that verbs do, and they're formed from verbs, but really they function in a different way within the sentence. Okay, so let's go ahead and have a look at our first verb, which is anekupsate, right? And that is an imperative. The ending tells us it's a second plural, and that alpha before the ending sort of lets us know that we're looking at an aorist. So this is an aorist imperative, an aorist active imperative, second plural of anakupto. And anakupto means to straighten up. So you have the word proskupto, which is to bend down or stoop down. Anakupto, the ana has the effect of meaning to straighten up. Okay, so, and this is a command to you, plural. Okay, and then our next verb is eparate, which is also an aorist active imperative. And it's also a second person plural from epero, which means to raise. So this as well as an imperative is a command. Okay? And then our final verb that I see is engize. Engize is simply a present indicative active third singular form of engizer, which means to draw near. Here it would be, so he, she, or it. And as a present tense, I like to make sure I use that sort of imperfective sense, that as the present tense carries that imperfective aspect. So I'm going to translate this as is drawing near. Okay, so now let's go ahead and fill in the gaps, right? So at the very start here, we have a participle. It's another one of those middle deponents, present middle deponent participle. And it's a neuter genitive plural. You might think it's a masculine genitive plural, but it's paired up with two-tone here, which is neuter. And so that's why the participle is neuter. It's the same form either way, but it's more properly considered neuter. And it's of archomai, which means to begin. The day, as I sort of discussed yesterday, when I see day, I try not to translate it if it's unnecessary. Here, I don't really think it's adding or contrasting, really. I think it's just signifying a new thought. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it off. But because archomenon and two-tone are both in genitive case, this is another genitive absolute participle. So standing apart from the rest of the sentence. So these things, as these things are beginning, or because this sort of, when you start getting to words like beginning, and then when we look at the infinitive that follows, it it sort of has a temporal feel about it as well. We probably want to translate this genitive absolute as when these things are beginning. And then ginesthai is a present infinitive middle form because it's one of those middle deponents of ginomai, right? Which simply means here to happen. When these things are beginning to happen, straighten up, kai, and raise your, which is second person plural, your heads, right? And then diori is because he, she, or it is drawing near. What is drawing near? Apolutrosis, humon, okay? Your redemption is drawing near. Redemption, apo has that away from sense, and lutron is ransom. So those two roots together form the idea of redemption. So now let's go ahead and have a look at my English translation for these two verses. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. When these things are beginning to happen, straighten up and raise your heads, because your redemption is drawing near.